Kuro, I gotta say, you're killing it with the 5 stars. They are beauts all around that are fun and a joy to have on your account. But hey, where the hell are the 4 stars at? Look, don't get me wrong, 5 stars are usually going to be the stars of the show, no duh. However, I kind of hate that right now, and I think this reason will make you hate this too if it keeps up. Let me explain. 4 stars are personal loves or budget options for the wider players. If they're not making core aspects of teams, they are substitutes, early bench warmers until you get the higher rarity one you want, or they may end up being projects that are long-term investments for fun or to show how much you love your favorite characters. They also just give more options, and that's not always a bad thing, especially for a game genre that relies on you coming back. 4 stars offer potentially easy ways to re-engage with a game if the character strikes your fancy, and or they provide close 5-star gameplay experiences that satisfy you. With all that in mind, we have so little 4 stars as a whole and even less that are actually widely used or even considered. Personally, I want to see more 4 stars, and I want them to be on the level of PGR 4 stars of the current generation. So, meaning Noctis, Bridget, or Blackrock Shooter, where they have honed their combat system and start to have more varied ways of interacting with the core combat system. I don't want throwaway 4 stars meant to inflate a pool. I want ones that have depth in the combat style, cool designs, and flexibility. But if you are gonna make them not be terribly good, at least make them fun to play in some way. Niche gameplay roles, unique gameplay mechanics, out-of-the-box team compositions with higher skill floors or skill ceilings, etc. Despite the relative unpopularity of someone like Yuan-Wu, he's one of the only characters that has a focus on breaking vibration, and I do enjoy playing him from time to time. His niche makes him at least somewhat desirable, as no one currently has that role. This leads me though to the main reason I'm making this. Right now, debuffs are being introduced slowly into Wuthering Waves, and I don't like how they're doing it with what they have given so far. Spectral Frazzle was exclusive on Rover until Phoebe, and now Arrow Erosion is again exclusive on Rover and will probably be coming in a future character that will be 5 stars. I'm not a fan of this because of how Kuro has outlined Rover's interactions between debuffs making Frazzle transform into Erosion. The problem in this is that you cannot have 2 Rovers in your party to experiment with this specific mechanic as of now, because if you don't have Phoebe, you are unable to use that mechanic. Whether or not it's good, it is barred off for not just people who couldn't or didn't pull Phoebes, but also the new players too. Again, this issue would be better if we had at least a pairing 4-star that can interact in a similar way, in this case a 4-star Frazzle debuffer. The neat thing that they could do too, if they don't want to give out new 4 stars for mechanics right now, is to have these debuffs be paired as part of a wider 4 and 5-star revamp and addition. This reinvigorates the community too, because it allows people to revisit these 4 and 5 stars that have seldom felt the touch of human connection in many months.
Punt his ass! What the f is wrong with you people?
You know why? It's because they will never be as loved as him.
Additionally, it spruces up teams, creates potentially new interactions depending on how they are added to the kits, and can shift meta perspectives again depending on how they are added. Imagine if Alto had his clone explode once killed or expired, creating an erosion field that could be shot through for erosion mist bullets. Or if Verina's Forte had an extra interaction that applied huge stacks of Frazzle depending on how much it filled when jumping through certain gameplay hoops. I just think that out of the 4-star pool, they rank as some of the most underused units outside of Sanhua or maybe Donjin Masochists. Hell, Lumi is the newest one and people barely talk about her, and I would guess by that extension, hardly use her. I'm hoping that we at least get a few more 4 stars, along with some kind of 4-star focusing aspect that is akin to PGRs. In the past, I've done like 90 polls when Yoo-Hoo was on a banner, and I literally only got 1 copy of her. But anyways, this would help bridge the gap between debuff implementation and experimentation without having to be locked behind rotating 5-star units. I know the Erosion Frazzle transfer mechanic isn't as big as going through puberty and probably isn't even worth getting terribly fussy over, but it's a soon-to-be more prevalent gameplay aspect that was made to be a relatively big deal when 2.0 launched. Spectrover's Frazzle Edition had story ties and was the first one to utilize the new Frazzle Echo set. Even outside of the game, it sparked people like myself and many people to look at them and ask if building Spectrover is now worth the investment, again lending credence to my point of reinvigorating the community and thinking of new teams. I just don't want to see this pattern necessarily continue when we eventually get the other debuffs and we go through the same thing. Rover gets it first, future 5-star gets it too, no 4-star option, and potential mechanic locked behind 5-star interactions. Just to be clear too, I think as we go on it might be better because it won't just be on 2 debuffs like right now, it'll encompass more debuffs, meaning more options. But I am curious if Kuro will update this Erosion Frazzle transfer later once we get things like Fusion Burst, Havoc Bane, or anything else. But let me know if this new top makes my nipples appear closer in your rearview mirror. Oh, and if I have a point here, or if I'm just being overly cautious. Again, the biggest and I think better fix for this would just be adding on the debuff aspects to older 4 and 5 stars. That way they get buffed, these units get more attention, and Kuro doesn't need to focus so much effort on creating an entirely new character and kit to please and fit the upcoming debuff interactions, in this case Arrow Erosion. It'll give a bit of breathing room, feedback, and more thought out kit designs for when they eventually do give us new 4 and 5 stars. But anywho, like, comment, and sub, and be safe out there.
Abusing your trust with nipples? Unforgivable. Unforgivable.